Success has been very tactical on let's solve one problem at a time. It's directional. Like as much as people want to be sophisticated in that site selection, a lot of the data is directional, and then you just got to have boots on the ground and understand what's going on. So retention doesn't seem to be a big problem for you once they come and are introduced to the brand.
It's very important to understand your unit level economic model in terms of what you're doing in terms of sales and profitability. And most people, I think, don't understand it as well as they should.
We built it. We know exactly how it works. You don't. And that's not your job. Your job is to run a restaurant. Our job is to run the software company. And I think the two have to meet in the middle.
10 or so metrics that we track or we benchmark.
And the number one thing is, do you have your metrics?
Yep.
If you don't have the metrics, stop. Focus on nothing else except metrics.
Yep. Is that we are focused on metrics, and we are focused on financials, and we are focused on every single detail that's happening, not only from a people standpoint and a guest standpoint, but just every detail.
Yeah, everything's so simple. You just got to follow the process and don't overcomplicate it. I think that's what I've learned in the last few years of really drilling down. Jason, it's great to be here with you, but let's get right into this. Average unit volumes, 2.3 million. You got 26 corporate-owned stores, which is just impressive in an industry where it's only doing 750, 800,000 in sales. How the heck did you pull that off?
Well, let's start right in. Well, I think we've got something very differentiated and unique in terms of what we're doing here at ChopShop, and I think it's resonating with the consumer. And so what we offer is a better for you dining experience in a fast casual environment. We're super quick and convenient, and we have a brand that's very affordable, very authentic, and very approachable. And so we're driving people in every day, and the sales come from that.
Amazing. So if somebody hasn't been to Original Chop House,
Yeah, no, but see, I love that. I love it. We should keep that in
yeah.
because that is one of our biggest.
I made that mistake last time.
Perfect.
And I made it yet again. But Original Chop Shop, tell them what it is. So walk us through. We're sitting here, obviously, but open layout, beautiful area with everything displayed on. But walk everybody through what you guys do.
Yeah, so in 2013, a husband and wife, Ron and Caitlin Jock, founded the concept in Scottsdale, Arizona. He was always sort of in the entertainment bar business, and she was a creative person. And the story is they got tired of eating Chipotle every day. And so they went out and said, we're going to build a restaurant, and we're going to put items on the menu that we want to eat. And they were like, if no one else ever comes, that's fine. We'll run it, and our friends will come, and we'll eat there, and it'll be all good. And so they opened the first store in Old Town Scottsdale, and the line was out the door. They've expanded the store a couple of times. They opened store 2 across the street from Arizona State, where they went to school, and store number 3 in Chandler, Arizona. And that's the point where we came in. We bought the business in 2016 at 3 locations, and we've grown it to 26. So we are, as you can see behind me, we are a fast casual brand. We're selling protein bowls, salads, sandwiches, fresh squeezed juice, acai bowls. We do breakfast all day, and we have catering. And so we like to say we have 5 day parts compared to most brands that are really heavily focused on just lunch and just dinner. So our business spreads through the day. We open at 7 in the morning, we close at 9 at night, 8 on Sundays, and there's always a trickle of people coming through the doors. Everything we do here is from scratch in the kitchen, and so we're making all the sauces, we're making all the dressings, everything's done in shop here.
Yeah, so there's a lot to drill down on that, but in an industry where 5 menu item is a thing, I'm looking at 5 screens with 50 items on there.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, so I love the fact that we're differentiated. One of the things I think that's happened in the restaurant space the last several years is that most people had gone to a singular base menu. So they sell bowls, or they sell hot chicken, or sell burgers or pizza, or just juice. And what that does for folks is I think it lowers the potential frequency of how often guests will come in, right? So if I want to go to Cava, for example, I like Cava, but I'm probably going to only go once every 3 weeks because it's a distinct flavor profile, and I just don't want that every day or 2 times a week. And so for ChopShop, it's very different. We've got a big menu. People are able to come in for different occasions. So you can come after a workout for a juice, you can come for breakfast, you can bring your office for lunch, you can take it home for your family for dinner, get catering into an event. And so what it does for us is it allows for greater frequency. And it also has created somewhat of a moat, I would say, for us as well, because most everybody looks at the menu and has the same reaction as you do. Like, wow, this is complicated, this is hard. And there's not a whole lot of people lined up to challenge what we're doing and to copy what we're doing because there's this perception that is very difficult in terms of pulling it off from an execution standpoint. The reality is most of those items up there they're made from a lot of the same ingredients. And so it's mixing and matching the ingredients along the way. We just rolled out a Cobb salad about 3 weeks ago, and there wasn't a single new SKU that had to be added to make that salad come to life.
Interesting. So a lot of questions there. You touched on acquisition, customer guest retention, guest acquisition, on the menu, complexity, labor. And I don't think outside of the industry anyone's gonna question this, the menu. Like I don't think the guest is probably gonna looking at that and saying I'm overwhelmed. Obviously, Cheesecake Factory has done that with a 50-page book, right, to order some food. But let's kind of break that down slowly. So first of all, the challenges of running the restaurant. So you open 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. and then you've got this complex menu, labor being the number one challenge. How do you overcome the labor challenge?
Yeah, so we're very mathematical about how we approach labor. What we've done here, a lot of brands in the restaurant space manage labor on a flat percentage, right? So like we're going to run 17% labor, and that's the goal. When I first started in this business 15 years ago, that was the plan. If you had a single manager store, you ran 17%. If you had a two manager store, you ran 19%. And we're like, that's really not the best way to look at it. And so what we've done is we've taken a more, again, mathematical approach. We've taken gross sales for a period of time, say 6 months across all the stores, and we've taken labor hours and basically plotted it on a scatter graph and found a regression line. So we know what it takes to run an average store. We know how many hours there need to be just to open the door. So you've got to have people here, whether you do $100 in sales or $10,000 in sales in a day, you've got to have a set number of people here. And then we have a mathematical formula that shows how many people you add as the sales go up. And so we run a process, like you forecast your sales for the day or for the week. The forecast generates what your schedule would be from an hour standpoint. We let the store GMs basically allocate those hours ever how they want. And then we track it on a intraday basis. So like as the day goes on, we're adding people or subtracting people based on how the sales are. And then at the end of the next or the beginning of the next morning, we're seeing a report that says how we did. And so it's a real time results. We rarely miss labor. Like we are within 1% up or down in terms of labor of how we run the brand. We're actually I think, going to get a little bit better at labor in the near term. We're working with a group called Taste. I'm not sure if you've heard of them.
No.
They're a AI-based prep planning tool. And so what they're able to do is they're able to take your sales, forecast your sales for you, forecast your P-mix for you, and then predict how much prep you need to do on a certain day. And not only predict it, but assign it out to individual cooks in the kitchen, track the time, track the yield, and all of a sudden, all this sort of black box sort of data that you didn't have before, you're going to understand how long it takes to chop a batch of onions, right? So it's one of the things that I've always believed in the restaurant space is there's something called Parkinson's law. I don't know if have you heard of that?
No.
And so the work expands to fit the time.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that.
So for example, let's take the onions, for example. If I give you 50 pounds of onions and I tell you have 30 minutes to chop it, you're going to chop it like this. But if I tell you have 5 minutes to chop it, you're going to chop it like this. And so we're going to all of a sudden have that information. And I think we'll be able to bifurcate our back of house labor into how much time is needed for prep and how much time is needed for the line. And I think there's a chance that we're going to take 5 to 10% of the labor out of the back just by being more efficient.
Interesting. So I see where you're going, because usually labor is a percentage of sales, but you've said, hey, labor it's not a percentage, it's an amount. You put a set amount. Mm-hmm. So if you put a set amount, your labor could be 30% one day, it could be 10%, and another depending on sales.
All depends on the sales.
So agreed. So how do you overcome that, and how do you, like, what happens if your labor for a week is 30%?
If it's 30%, you need to grow your sales.
Okay, that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah,
So your solution to that problem is grow sales. Forget the labor. Labor has to be there. It is what it is.
it's gross sales, but it's also you need to make sure you're at lower volumes that you can still make money, right? Of course. So that's one of the challenges I think some restaurants have is that they get going in this business and they open 5 or 6 restaurants and they have huge volumes, and then they open that next restaurant in a new market, and the sales are 50%, 70% of that, and they wake up and they go, "Wow, I can't make this worth financially because of that." And so I think it's very important to understand your unit level economic model in terms of what you're doing in terms of sales and profitability. And most people I think don't understand it as well as they should.
That brings up another point. I was interviewing the CEO of Dickies, and I talk to Kendall all the time, and they everybody says the same thing. You gotta know your numbers. This theme is reoccurring, and now it's coming up more and more and more. That if you don't know your unit economics, then the whole thing's broken. Don't stop.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was at acquisition.com conference, and the number one thing is, do you have your metrics?
Yep.
If you don't have the metrics, stop. Focus on nothing else except metrics.
Yep.
You don't need to go past it. It's a 6-step formula. Step one is the metrics.
Yep.
And if the metrics isn't there, just stop and focus on that. So tell me more about these number thing, because a lot of people are struggling with that, especially franchisees. You don't have franchisees, but some people that are franchising, they just don't know the numbers, they don't know the metrics. How do you overcome that challenge? And when you're opening a new location, what research do you do to make sure that the top line revenue is going to fall in line?
Yeah, so let's start with understanding the unit level economic numbers. One of the things that we do that I really I'm not sure I've seen anybody else talk about or do is we have what we call an ideal P&L. And so that ideal P&L is you basically can plug in a sales number and it should tell you what the profitability is, down to what your COGS should be, what your labor should be, what your direct operating expenses should be. And we track that on a periodic basis as well for each location, and then we trend it. So we can see if someone's having a hard time and maybe they're buying too many chemicals, or maybe their linen expense is too high, or maybe their overtime is too high, or maybe they're not running ideal labor, or their waste is too high. So we're tracking that consistently, because one of the things I think gets confused in the restaurant business is the expectation is you're going to run the same margin no matter what the sales are. Back to the labor question, like if I gave you a 70% labor margin and you were doing 1.2 million in sales, and another store was doing 3.5 million in sales, they had the same 17% labor margin, the $3.5 million store is going to kill it. They're going to easily get there, right? Because there's this leveraging of labor as sales grow that I think people don't understand. And the same thing on lots of the items of the P&L, fixed costs, variable costs, and getting to where you understand how that reacts to different sales volumes, and that you're tracking it on a periodic basis. From a site's location standpoint, we use lots of analytical tools. Or from a site selection standpoint, we've been highly analytical from the beginning at what we're doing, even though I'm not sure it's, for us, we got a lot of experience opening restaurants in the markets that we're in with our prior experience at Zoe's Kitchen. And so picking the first 25, maybe even the first 50s, relatively easy. Like we know which areas of Dallas we need to be in. We know what areas of Phoenix we need to be in. It becomes more of an issue of okay, now you've chosen, say, Allen, Texas, where we are today. Where do you want to actually put the store down inside of Allen, Texas, and is that space available? So we use a program called SiteWise. It's more of a data tool. It's got demos, psychos, and we've got 10 or so metrics that we track and we benchmark. And then we've recently started using Placer AI that tracks cell phone data and gives you a little bit more of where people are coming from, where people are going, some of the other things that they're interested in doing, and some pretty good estimates of traffic counts of how long or how many people are in a four-wall building. It can track that too. So it gives you, it's directional. Like like as much as people want to be sophisticated in that site selection, a lot of the data is directional, and then you just got to have boots on the ground and understand what's going on.
Interesting. Yeah, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
I think it sums everything up, and I think business is just becoming that way, regardless whether you're a restaurant, technology, or if you're running a mowing company. Everything's so simple. You just got to follow the process and don't overcomplicate it. I think that's what I've learned in the last few years of really drilling down. All right, labor, knowing your numbers, ideal P&L statement, plug the numbers in. To me, it sounds like you're focused strictly on top line revenue, because if that falls in line, it sounds like everything else should fall in line. And again, the
So we
conversation.
put the systems in place for the other things to fall in line.
Okay,
Right?
got you. So you're not hope. Hope
Okay.
isn't your business strategy.
No,
You're calculated. You're going in and you're like, this is what we want. Here's how we're gonna get there, and you're just executing.
We're executing. That's right. So what we've done is the fourth person I hired when we bought the business was an IT person, and we did that because we knew we wanted to upgrade systems. We knew we wanted data to be able to manage the business, and so we put that in place very early. And now we've just sort of systematized how we do just about everything. And so at this point, we've got a very scalable business. We just scale.
Gotcha. So let's run through the metrics and data. So what are you looking at? What are your key metrics that you review on a daily basis? And what should other people be paying attention to?
So I wake up every morning. I've got probably 15 different data reports that are automated and come to me through a business called Mirrors. I don't know if you know Mirrors, but basically a data warehouse that you can do dashboards and do alerts. So sales, you're looking at sales, you're looking at labor, how you did yesterday versus the ideal. Every 2 weeks, we're looking at inventory and COGS and waste as well, because we're counting every 2 weeks. Every period, we're looking at price changes for commodities to understand trends and what's happening there. We're looking at percentage digital business that we're doing. We try something as small as I look at Uber Eats sales and DoorDash sales for yesterday to make sure everybody had sales.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while, DoorDash will turn you off, and they won't tell you they turned you off, and so you need to make sure you're still getting those sales. We look at percentage delivery. We look at gosh, it's just a little bit of everything. And for me, I probably in my past I would look at every single store and be focused on that. I'll let my operator do that today. I'm looking at averages. I'm looking at the top line numbers. How did we do yesterday? Did we run our labor number? It was sales good yesterday, and much more big picture.
Gotcha. So let's back into the top line revenue. Obviously, it requires a series of metrics. But how do you? Maybe I'll ask it more directly. What do you do for guest acquisition? If I'm not mistaken, that's one of your biggest challenges, is getting people in the door.
Yeah.
So tell me more about guest acquisition.
So we believe, and maybe I shouldn't say we believe, we have a very small marketing team and a very small marketing budget. We have been tasked to be profitable as a business. So we've made money, been positive EBITDA every single year since 2016 when we bought the business.
Unlike some of your competitors, you're very vocal on LinkedIn.
Right.
You spend probably 5 hours on a post researching all of the things you put out is very thorough, detailed, and it's amazing to read there and be like, oh wow, you can actually do this profitably.
Yeah, and so that's like at Zoe's, we did it the same way. The equity firm put money in to buy the business. They put a small piece of equity in a year and a half later when the economy turned soft. And they never put another dollar in. And so in my mind, I was like, well, that's just how you do it. That's how you do it. And that's not how most people do it. Most people fund operating losses in these early years for years. And some groups, like people I mentioned on LinkedIn, are like 15 years of operating losses. And so back to the marketing question. So we have been conscious that we need to make money. And so we haven't spent lots of dollars in marketing. We've taken more of an organic approach. And so we want you to come, we want you to like it, we want you to go tell two of your friends and so forth and so on. So once we get you in the door, we have a pretty robust loyalty program. About 40% of our transactions that are direct to us have a loyalty number attached to the transaction, which is
That's impressive.
a really amazing number. And with those folks, we can text them, we can email them, we can push pull notifications in the app. There's just lots of ways to communicate to them once we have you here. Where we focused a lot of our time is how do we get people in the door for the first time, and it's sort of it's interesting. I think if we were to walk around where we are today in Allen, and we let's say we run across 10 people that meet my demographic psychographic of who should be coming to Chop Shop, I would say 9 of the 10 people have never been. And part of the problem is that they they see the name and they think we're a steakhouse, or they think we're doing something different than what we're doing. And so a lot of what we've done is make our advertisements and our messaging is about brand and is about who we are and what we're doing and just trying to get the message out. We were talking before we started. Our average volumes are just under 2.3 million. I believe this brand has a $3 million top line AUV potential once people figure out what we're doing and come to the brand. And so that everything we're doing is organic on the marketing side. So I'll give you one example. I don't want to give all the
Oh, no, sure.
I don't want to give
Well,
all the secrets away, but we sell acai here,
uh-huh.
and we ran in one of our openings. We rented an acai cart, and we gave away free samples for people that were walking into Kava next door. We stopped them
Ah,
and got them to come in. And the reception of that was so great. We're like, wow, we should have one of these in Dallas. And so our marketing director's husband built one for us because we're frugal, right?
right.
I could have bought one for 5 or 6,000, but he made one for a couple thousand. And we've used that pretty extensively. So we partnered with folks like Lululemon, Viore. We're on the Katy Trail, and we're just giving away samples. Like the best marketing for us is the food. And so we try to get food in people's mouth as quickly as we can, and then capture them in the restaurants.
Gotcha. So that loyalty number, like 40%, is outrageous.
Outrageous, yeah.
So retention doesn't seem to be a big problem for you once they come and are introduced to the brand. How do you ensure that guest retention is so high?
Yeah, so one of the stats that we realized as we got going with this is we found that if you visited the shop 3 times, your propensity to return was a 4th time was like 90%. And so we focused a lot of our efforts in the early, like after you sign up, how do we get you back?
Yeah.
Like, how do we get you back in here? How do we get you back in here quick? And so we've got a program that most people will think I'm crazy, and we're crazy about doing this. So if you sign up for loyalty and you spend $7, we want you to spend something so that you don't game the system. We're going to send you an offer for $3 off every single day for the next 30 days.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so I'm not sending you a free juice or a free bowl or a one-time offer. I'm sending you something that you can use every single day. And look, you could take advantage of me. It's a few people probably do. They probably come in and get a lemonade every day and don't buy anything else or a cookie.
Sure.
But most people don't. Most people look at that and go, wow, this is a nice offer. This is roughly a 20% discount to what we're offering from a pricing standpoint. And we get that frequency, and we get people coming. And again, once we get them to 3, we're pretty sure we'll get them to 4. And then we've got a few nurturing things that happen behind the scenes after that first 30 days is done.
Yeah, that's impressive because actually, I listened to a podcast on Gary Vee with, his name escapes me, John Taffer, and 7 years ago. And he said, listen, if you get people in on 4 visits, likelihood of them returning is like 70-80%, some ridiculous numbers, which obviously you've proven that model and you've proven that it actually works. But today I have yet to see any restaurant execute it like you have. But what we did is I went back and I immediately changed our system, and we added a first-time visitor campaign where you come in, system detects it's your first time, gives you a buy one, get one free to come in. We wanted the strongest offer. You've expanded on that to $3 off every day for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Because it's critical to get them back in within 30 days as quickly as possible. So they build that behavior. What you're doing, you're not trying to build loyalty, you're trying to build behavior.
That's correct.
And then we do a free appetizer, a free dessert, and then we do a free drink, and then we tap it off, and then we just put them in a normal communication sequence, which nobody seems to be doing, even though it's simple, but it's not easy.
That's right. And that's, we do a lot of the same stuff. Like we have nurturing programs behind the scenes for folks to get them to come try breakfast, or to get them to come for dinner, or just another offer just to continue to get the visitation. Even with the aggressiveness that we have in the comps, our percentage that we spend in loyalty is about 1.3% of sales. So it's relatively small, and we probably have room that we could do more if we wanted to.
Interesting. Okay, let's move on to operation a little bit more. You guys are all corporate owned. You have no franchisees. Are there any intentions to franchise out?
No, at this point, the plan is to do all company owned locations. So
Why?
Why? Two big reasons. First is that we believe the return is pretty fantastic with what we're doing. If you look at the first 16 stores that we've opened that have been open for 3 years or more, the cash on cash returns are 58%, which is spectacular.
And by the way, you share all these numbers on LinkedIn.
I do.
Very frequently.
I do,
Yeah.
and like look, I probably wouldn't share them if they weren't good.
Yeah.
But they're good, and I want I want people to know what we're doing. Like
Yeah.
I want the whole LinkedIn thing was about how do we continue to just to grow awareness behind what we're doing and get the ChopShop name out, not only to consumers but to the investment community or to other people that need to hear what we're doing. And then it sort of turned into, well, how can I help other people that are trying to do the same thing? So
Of course.
last week's post was about, here's a playbook, right?
Yeah.
Here are things where people make common mistakes in terms of what they're doing. So back to the franchise, the return on the money that we're putting in is really good. So we'd like to keep that return. And then look, the brand is more difficult to operate than a typical franchise location. Like we are chopping food in the restaurant. We are making things from scratch in the restaurant. And so I think that makes it a little more difficult to hand over to a franchisee. And we love controlling the brand. Like we like the brand, we like the culture that we built, and we just want to continue that company on stores.
Got you. And actually, let's touch base a little bit on culture. I don't think a lot of people put a lot of attention on that, but you guys have built a special culture within the company. Tell me more about the culture and how that came about.
Yeah, so it probably it's a combination of all the things that our team hated in the jobs that we worked in the past, right? So
Mhm.
we're like, okay, these are the things we don't like, and we're going to do them differently. And so one of the things for me is that I left jobs multiple times in my career when I felt like there was no growth, or that I was capped out, or wasn't really appreciated, or you just keep going down the list of why
Sure.
people leave. I was like, well, let's create something different here. Let's create a growth mindset, and let's show people how that this can be a career for them if they choose for this to be a career, and if they don't, then they're going to learn something here and they're going to take it to the next thing that they do. And so early on, we put in a career pathing platform for our team. So we tell people how you can get from cashier to shift leader to AGM to GM to regional manager, and the same in the back. How you get from cook to kitchen lead to AGM, and so forth, so on. And it was amazing. Like I'm an accountant finance guy. Like I'm a behind the scenes.
That that shows on the numbers.
Yeah, I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy. And so I was like, is this really, or is this going to resonate with people? And in the first couple of weeks after we rolled out the program, we were out in the shops, and just I heard the team, like, I saw the excitement about what we had done and saw them repeating the things to us. And it's like, wow, this actually does resonate and is working. And so what we've done is we've just made sure that we give people opportunities to keep learning. And at some point in the home office, it's a little bit harder because we're small, we're lean, and so we've also told people, like, look, if you outgrow the company's growth, like you get the skills and there's no next job for you here, it's okay to go do something else. Like I've had 2 or 3 people leave to go do other things that are steps up for them because they sort of like maxed out of what they could do here. And that's just, small companies. So a couple of stats, because I like stats. Of course, our turnover for the last 12 months is 97%, which is pretty incredible. An hourly turnover,
Mm.
97%. Our
Wait, turnover, you mean like you're retaining 97%.
I'm turning over 97%. So most restaurants run 175% to plus in turnover.
Oh, got you, got you. Okay,
Right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
Chipotle's last number they reported, I think it was about a year ago, was like 180%. We're beating them by almost half, right?
gotcha.
Our general managers have a tenure of 4.5 years with the brand, which is pretty incredible. And then our top 1/3 of our hourly team has a tenure of 2.5 years with the brand. So we found a way to keep people around the brand, and that helps with the culture, that helps with the service, that helps, of course, with it helps with labor, right? Because you're not retraining people over and over and over again. And so it's been really, really spectacular. So another thing we've done in labor training and development is we put in a video-based training program through a group called Opus. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
I've
Opus.
heard of those guys.
And so in my past, when you'd run training programs, you might get 30% of the team to actually complete them, right? And it was almost always front of house. The front of house was, 70%, the back of house was 0% in the training. Our last training that we did for our last campaign rollout, which was new food and a couple marketing initiatives, we had 95% of our team complete the training. And that just shows the engagement of how people are they're so into what we're doing from a team standpoint.
Yeah, and that's impressive because that's one of the biggest challenges. Obviously, labor is one of your biggest challenges. You've solved that by setting the values, giving them a growth path, which traditionally in a restaurant space, there aren't a lot of those. And then the training is another big part because you open the store, you hire 50 people, and in 6 months' time, only 10 of them are left.
Yes.
And then the other 50 that are replaced are trained by the 10, and then this cycle continues. And the food is not made the same way in 12 months than it was when you.
That's correct. That's right.
So you've solved that big problem. So again, it sounds like your success has been very tactical on let's solve one problem at a time and then focus on that and get these all solved in order to achieve the top line revenue, which by default drives profitability.
That's right. So if you'd have told me 30 years ago that I would be a CEO of a restaurant company, I would have told you were crazy, right? I was a super picky eater when I was a kid. I think I ate my first salad when I was 25 years old, which is crazy, right? A lot of chicken fingers and a lot of burgers. But I think what has made me really good at this job, and the people I've hired are very similar to me, is that we are focused on metrics and we are focused on financials and we are like focused on every single detail that's happening, not only from a people standpoint, a guest standpoint, but just every detail.
Yeah.
And I think that, a lot of folks that start restaurants are creative types and they're very good at the creative type of the part of the business, but they don't have the financial metric part of the business. And I was very lucky that we bought something that had great bones to it and had a niche in the marketplace where no one else was doing exactly what we're doing. And we just put systems around it.
Yeah, that's impressive. You said that I didn't, but you're absolutely 1,000% right. I think most people that get into the restaurant business, they do it because they enjoy doing it, but they fail to realize there's numbers behind the scene. Running a business is absolutely brutal. It's difficult.
Yes.
It is painful day in, day out.
Yes.
Things go wrong every single day, usually multiple times a day. And to be able to just keep that momentum going and to be able to wake up the next day, show up to work, and with the same level of energy, it just takes a special breed of people. And if the numbers don't line up, it just makes it so much more difficult to just get up, show up, and be the best that you could be.
That's right.
So, so let's touch base on guest feedback. I didn't hear any metrics around guest feedback, but you're obsessed with numbers. I highly doubt there's nothing in place. So tell me more about guest feedback. How do you ensure that the guest is happy? Because restaurants are really difficult businesses because if you screw up once, then you screwed up.
Screw up.
Yeah.
And I'd tell you what makes it more difficult today is that with 70% of our food being eaten off premise, if you screw up, you don't get a chance to recover typically, and they may never come back. Right.
Agreed.
So,
that's a big challenge today in this space. So you have to be really on top of it. How and if you do, how do you do that?
So like when we started this, we weren't nearly as big as digital. We're 54% digital today in our business. If you include the kiosk, we're 74% digital. But when we started, we weren't nearly that percentage. And we just made a point to respond to anyone that came to the contact us form or anybody that left a Google review. We respond back, right? And that was just sort of the entry level stakes of what we're doing. You'd be surprised how many people don't even just do that, right?
Yeah.
So we're responding back in a very personal way. And about a year and a half ago, we looked at how can we just get more feedback, and we ended up implementing a program called Ovation. I'm sure you're familiar with Ovation.
I know Zach.
Yeah, so Zach's a crazy dude. He's a crazy dude. He's out there. He big personality, right?
Very.
And so what we put Ovation in January of 2024, and I'm probably one of his biggest fans of what he's got there. And we basically send a 2-click survey to people that order online. And that's about 25 to 27% of our business is direct online sales through our website app. And in 2020, before that, so before we put innovation, we'd had 8+ years of operating 20+ restaurants. We had about 18,000 Google reviews over that period of time, and we average a 4.6 in Google. To be honest, I really don't pay attention to Yelp. I think Yelp is somewhere where people go in just to complain. And so we respond to the Yelp reviews and probably a little more aggressively respond to them. Yeah, but it's like I'm more focused on Google. You're getting way more reviews on Google. And I think it's a better representation of actually what's happening. But we had 18,000 over an 8-year time period. We put Ovation in, and we had 64,000 reviews in the first year, which was just amazing. And we averaged a 4.6 the first year as well in terms of Ovation reviews, which was outstanding. But really what Ovation did for us is it allowed us to communicate to people that had a less than perfect experience in the restaurant. And so people would send in, if they give you less than a 5-star review, they can put text in of what went wrong. Sure. And so they tell us what went wrong. If you forgot my dressing, or I modified my salad and you did get the modification right, or you left the fork out of my bag, like all these sort of typical things. And so we respond to each and every one of those, and we have the ability to recover. So we can offer a reward or a promo or a refund or something to recover that guest. And so we get a lot of those folks. First of all, they're like, wow, we're actually talking to a real person, because I think the expectation is it's AI and that it's automated, but they've quickly realized it's the general manager of the shop that's responding to them. It becomes more personal and a more personal connection. And then you win those people back. And the majority of those people come back and give you a second chance when historically, I think we had lost those people.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's really critical because most people, when something goes wrong, they just want to talk to somebody and
Yep.
they want a resolution.
Yep.
And if you don't open that line of communication, guess where that line of communication goes to? I know I do that. Like if it's a big company where I can't get a hold of somebody and I don't get a feedback where I can be like, hey, this went wrong, fix it. I just leave a 1-star review.
Yep.
I don't have any other choice. And it's like that's the only way to get your attention.
So it's interesting. The people that are loyalty guests they'll send an Ovation feedback in, but they'll also reach out to us directly, right? And they'll tell us directly. And what we've made a point of is that we're probably very aggressive in the recovery. So, for example, I forgot your dressing in your salad, and you left me a note and you said I couldn't eat my salad because it didn't have dressing on it. Well, more than likely you ate the salad and you had dressing at your house, or you found a way to do it. I'll give you another salad.
Sure.
Like I want to give you a full another salad, and just make it right and make it even better than what you were expecting. And I think that's also played a role about how people have come back in. So I 100% believe that our recent sales results are one of the things that has helped those results is that recovery.
Yeah.
And so we've had 16 of the last 17 periods, we've been positive same-store sales for a brand. And for the last 13 periods, we've had positive traffic. And so bucking all the trends that are out there today with people reporting negative traffic in public markets, we're rocking and rolling. And I think it's because we talked about the menu at the very beginning of this, but what also I think makes us very different is the fact that most everybody in the fast casual world has gone to a walk the line concept, where you're walking in. The only greeting you're going to get is, do you want a bowl or burrito?
Hey, sure.
Right. And then you're probably not going to talk to or see another person anytime after that. Right. You don't see, like, I'll pick on Chipotle. And I like Chipotle. But you go to Chipotle and if you eat inside the restaurant, it's rare that you see someone come out from behind the line ever.
Sure.
To wipe a table, to clean the beverage station, to say hello. It just doesn't happen. So another thing that big time that differentiates ChopShop from everybody else is that the guest expectation is that you're going to be recognized, you're going to be spoken to, you're going to be interacted with. And so I believe we have one of the few brands in the space that has the ability to create an emotional connection to the guest. And I think that gives us just another differentiator of why we're winning in the space today.
Sure. Yeah. It's all about the relationship with, I guess, anyway, in this high touch industry. And
So if someone walks in that door and we don't greet them within 30 seconds, there's a chance they're going to leave a bad review. Now they're not going to leave it on Google, right? But they're going to put an Ovation. It's going to be, I walked in and no one greeted me, because the expectation is you're going to be greeted. That same person walking into Chipotle or Cava or Sweetgreen, that's not the expectation at all. The expectation is this is a functional transaction. I'm going to come in. I like to call it prison style. You're going to walk the line, cafeteria style. You're going to walk the line. We're going to scoop your stuff into your dish, and you're going to go on your way. This is much more intentional interaction in terms of what we're doing from a consumer standpoint.
Yeah, and back to that guest feedback thing, like Google, we're putting a campaign to go up against OpenTable, and everybody's like, wow, they drive all the traffic. It's like, no, they only drive 1.8% of the traffic to the whole industry. Google Maps and Google Search drives like 83% of traffic to restaurants.
Yep.
So, and then after that, it's Yelp with, I think, like maybe around low double digit percentages, and then it drops down to 1.8% with OpenTable. So yeah, those Google reviews are absolutely critical because like I don't use anything else except Google Maps.
Yes.
Like that's right. It's either Google Maps or sometimes Apple Maps, but majority of the time it's on Google Maps. So if I'm searching for restaurants, places to eat, if I'm going to a new spot, new place, etc., it's typically on that Google Map. So those Google reviews are critical. And I can't emphasize enough that like just asking for feedback, we do it every single time. So every time you leave within an hour, you automatically get a text that says, how is everything? Whether you conduct a transaction on a POS, whether you joined a wait list, whether you made a reservation, whether you placed an online order, it does not matter. We just keep sending that out. And the idea behind that for me was, look, if they had a bad experience, they're going to use it. Or if they had a really good experience, they're going to use it.
Yep.
And then everybody in between is just going to ignore it.
Yep.
So at least you give them a channel to funnel, to open that line of communication and funnel that review to you, where you can filter it before you post it online and and put it on Google. And it's funny because I was talking to Jim Biddix, the CEO of Dave's Hot Chicken. We're doing a conference at FS Tech where we have him on stage, and he said the same thing. And he's like, he does exactly what you do. And he was saying in June of 2020 when he joined, their review rating was 3.9. Today is at a 4.7.
Yeah.
And he's like, we respond to every single review and we take that serious.
Yep.
And then we do a lot of win back. They don't do a lot of like free refund stuff, but they do promos and things to get them back in, which I think is the right way to do that. Don't just refund them their money because they're not coming back.
That's right.
Just go ahead and just give them a free dish or whatever it is. Give them another reason to come back to try it out, and use that to drive frequency.
That's right.
Okay, so let's touch base on a couple of other things on digital orders, third-party online orders. You guys are driving a lot of traffic on online channels. How did that become? Are you on third-party? How do you differentiate between third-party versus first-party? Do you discriminate from one to the other, or what is your take on that?
So most of our businesses with DoorDash and Uber Eats. We have Grubhub as well, but they're a small percentage of what we're doing. We have marked up the product to the consumer to basically cover the fees, which I think everybody does at this point. And I'm pretty indifferent in terms of whether you're going through Uber Eats or DoorDash. And truth be told, I'd love you to come direct to me, but we've made the financials basically the same. And so I'd love you to come to me so I have the information and your data and I can market to you. But at this point, I'm pretty indifferent. I just need the sales. So we're doing about 27% of sales from third party today.
Yeah, and most people I think get hung up on the cost, but it's cost of acquisition, and you're making up the difference anyways.
Making up the difference anyway. I'm covering my fees, or pretty close to covering my fees, and again, it's just we're responding also to all those reviews because there are reviews coming in through those channels as well.
Yeah, and I guess you do have the marketing channel to drive retention. That's why you want them to come first party, but most people don't have that option. So let them do the hard work for you and just pay the premium on that.
Yeah, and look, we tried over the years to win people back from third party, and it's super difficult. Like, it's even for myself. Like, I know it's better if I order directly through the restaurant's website, but it's easier to go to DoorDash and see 10 restaurants and pick the one that I want instead of going directly to the store. So I'm bad about it as well. And so of course, I can't really expect people that are looking for convenience not to use the third party apps.
And people pay for that convenience.
They're
And they're
yeah.
happy to pay for that convenience. And also, I think it's an uphill battle if people are trying to find it. You'll win some, but not majority. And just let that channel be and drive it as, or review it and
Yeah.
take it in as another channel of
Just another sales channel.
acquisition, sales channel, yeah, revenue.
And that's how we
generation.
think about it. It's like it's a good way to introduce people to the brand, and not every transaction that they ever do is going to be through third party. They're going to come in the doors at some point, and then we have a chance to get them to direct if we do things right. One piece though that is challenging is Easy Cater, right? So Easy Cater is does not allow you to mark up the price. And so Easy Cater is really expensive in terms of, and there's no one competing against Easy Cater in terms of offering a different alternative. And so that is one where you feel like you need to be out there on Easy Cater to be able to drive the catering sales. About half our catering sales come from Easy Cater, but you're paying 20 to 40% based on how much sponsorship or placement or rewards that you're doing for them. And you end up with something that's almost not profitable. And so we almost think about Easy Cater as being just purely awareness and customer acquisition of, your boss is buying your lunch for the day, and that's maybe introducing you to ChopShop, and maybe we'll get a visit out of you later.
Personally,
But
yeah.
it's a fairly neutral profitability transaction for us the way Easy Cater has it set up.
Yeah, and they have the catering orders, so that makes it really difficult.
That's
Because they're the ones that own
They own the
the
relationship.
and they own the relationship. Yeah. How much is catering compared to your total revenue?
So catering runs between 6 and 8%. It varies by period, but average is probably 7 for the year.
Okay, last part I want to touch base on just technology in general. It sounds like you've got a lot of different technology pieces in here. What is, I guess, what is your expectation out of technology going forward? And if there's one challenge that you're facing that you want all tech companies to know about, it's like, hey, just don't do this, do more of this.
Yeah. So like we are very tech forward in what we're doing, but we're also a very small company, so we are heavily reliant on all these tech partners to interact with each other. That's probably the biggest challenge. Is like, can I get Paytronics to interact with Brink? I've been asking for a new piece of development for Brink for 5 years, right? And it's like I just don't have a huge voice with Brink. They're sort of slow to move for what we've asked, but it's something that would change, I think, revolutionize my business, and I need them to talk to Paytronics to get it done. And they're still sort of fighting of how do we get that done. I like working with tech partners that are open to making changes and building like development roadmaps and making it happen quickly. Like the presentation people we talked about before, I think fit that bill. We're working with a group called Curbit. They fit that bill. But some of the bigger players aren't willing to move as quickly, even though I think that we have something that are ideas that would help their product and help a lot of people. So that's probably the biggest thing is like, how do you, as a small company, how do you influence all these people interacting better together? And then this is something I talk about a lot. A lot of these programs that you get, they're out of the box, they work, but no one really tells you how to use them, right? So I'll pick on, I can pick on any of the folks.
Sure.
Who should I pick on?
We don't have to pick it. Yeah, we don't have to go.
So let's say they give you a product,
Yeah.
and they go, the product functions and the product works, but I think you've got to figure out how you make that product work within your organization.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things I like to talk opus and training, like it works. You got to build the content, but what do you want the content to be?
Yeah.
You want it to be everything. You want it to be this, that, and so a lot of this, there needs to be a lot of strategic thought around how do you use these products to get to the end result that you want. And it's sometimes it's using it less than what, than maybe you could use it, just highly focused in. And then sometimes it's saying, well, wait, I can use this in a different way than that the SaaS providers ever thought about using it.
Exactly.
And so we found very unique ways to use the products that we're using. And in my mind, in a lot of products, we found a way to make better with suggestions. And the folks that are open to suggestions, it's great. You get their fast source.
Yeah, and I think one lesson that I learned early on, even from my own user experience, is we templatized everything and we pre-configured a lot of things. like probably a good 75% of everything that you need is already templatized and it's already ready to go. You don't have to change it. It just works out of the box.
Yep.
And yeah, that white glove delivery is critical because we built it. We know exactly how it works. You don't.
Yeah.
And that's not your job. Your job is to run a restaurant. Our job is to run the software company. And I think the two have to meet in the middle. And boy, like people just not working together. Like that's what led to me starting Milagro, because I was having a really, really, really tough time with NCR Aloha, and these guys would just not budge, and they would not give me, they wouldn't give me access to build my $20 a month subscription company. And look where it ended up today. And a lot of people don't have the means to pull this off, but like every once in a while you just tick off somebody that does have the means, that will go aggressively after you and be like, all right, like I'm going to show you how it's done.
Yeah.
And then it transitioned to like everybody went on to Toast, and then Toast is now doing the same thing. It's like, no, we don't allow anybody to integrate. Why? Because you compete with me. It's like, yeah, great, but let the customer make the best decision and let them choose who they want to go with. But awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. This has been very helpful. I follow you on LinkedIn, so I knew I wanted to have a sit down with you, and we're lucky that we're in the same town, so
Yeah.
we were able to do this in person.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.